It wakes up my body. I pour hot tea. Daily routine. My day starts early. I wake up before the sun. I hear my alarm. It is soft. I try not to wake the house. The first minutes are mine. I use them well. I turn on the kettle. I stretch a little. It wakes up my body. I pour hot tea. This is my little ritual. It helps me start the day. The tea cools. I close my eyes. I take deep breaths. I tell myself, today is a new day. It is full of possibilities. I deserve to live it with care. Not just for others, but for myself too. Then I do morning chores. I make breakfast for the family. I get the kids ready for school. I check their bags. I make sure they have their books and clothes. I help my husband get ready for work. I pack his lunch. He doesn't like fast food. These tasks take time, but I find moments for myself. For example, I cook breakfast. I play my favorite music, or I listen to a podcast. It inspires me. This helps me feel good. I am not just doing chores. I am creating a cozy home. I am also filling myself with positive emotions. The house gets quiet. It is time for more chores. Cleaning, laundry, cooking. It feels endless, but I find my rhythm. I break tasks into small parts. After each part, I take a break. I drink tea. I read a few pages of a book. Or I sit in silence. These are my little rewards. I also do physical activity. I don't have time for a full workout, but I do short exercises. Or I dance to music while cleaning. This keeps my body in shape. It also lifts my mood. Lunch is important. I cook for the family, but I also cook for myself. I choose dishes I like. I enjoy making them. Sometimes I try new recipes. It adds variety. During lunch, I forget about chores. I enjoy the meal, even if it's just for a few minutes. This reminds me, self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity. After lunch, I do my hobbies. I read, I draw, or I walk in the park. I don't feel guilty. I know a happy mom gives love and care to her family. Sometimes I meet friends. We talk and share thoughts. This helps me feel connected. It is more than just chores. In the evening, the family is home. I create a cozy atmosphere. We have dinner together. We talk about our day. We share our thoughts. The kids talk about their day. My husband tells a funny story from work. I laugh with them. After dinner, I wash the dishes again. The kids take a bath. My husband helps them brush their teeth. I read them a bedtime story. They go to sleep. Finally, I sit on the couch with my husband. We watch TV for a while. I feel tired but happy. Today was hard, but I did it. I took care of my family. I also found time for myself. After dinner, I take time for myself. I take a bath with nice oils. Or I use a face mask. Or I read a book quietly. I remind myself self-care is not selfish. It helps me be the best for my family. Before bed, I think about the day. I thank myself for what I did. If something didn't go well, it's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. I can try again. I fall asleep with this thought: taking care of myself is important. It is the base of my happiness. Every day I find new ways to remind myself. A happy mom makes a happy family. Sometimes I feel very tired. I try hard, but the chores feel endless. In these moments, I stop and ask myself, what can I do to feel better? Maybe I call a friend. My friend always supports me. Or I go for a walk alone. I breathe fresh air. It clears my mind. I know self-care is not one time. It is a process. I need to pay attention. I need to be mindful. I will keep looking for balance. I care for my family. I also care for myself. This is important for me and for those I love. I continue my journey. I remind myself it is okay to ask for help. I cannot do everything alone. Sometimes I ask my husband to cook dinner. Sometimes I ask my kids to help clean. Sharing the work helps me. It teaches my family about teamwork and responsibility. This small change makes a big difference. I feel better at the end of the day. I also learned good enough is okay. Not every meal has to be perfect. Not every room has to be very clean. Not every day has to be perfect. Some days I do only the important things. The rest can wait for tomorrow. Trying to be perfect makes me tired. I don't want that. I focus on what matters. I want a loving home. Everyone should feel valued and cared for, including me. I listen to my body and mind. When I feel tired or overwhelmed, I know I need to rest. Sometimes I take a nap when the kids are at school. Sometimes I say no to extra work. Sometimes I sit with a cup of tea and do nothing. These moments are not lazy. They are necessary. They help me get stronger. Then I can return to my tasks with a clear mind and a full heart. I also learned to set boundaries. It is easy to say yes to everything, but saying yes too much makes me tired and unhappy. Now I think carefully. I say yes only to what I can do. I say no to the rest. It is not easy, but it is important for my well-being. People respect me more for it. They understand I care for my health and happiness. This sets a good example for everyone around me. Another thing helps me. I find joy in small things. For example, I enjoy the smell of coffee in the morning. I love the sound of my kids laughing. I like the feeling of sunlight on my face during a walk. I try to enjoy these moments. They remind me life is not only about big things. It is also about small, everyday moments. These moments make life meaningful. When I focus on them, I feel calm and grateful, even on busy days. I also started to dream again. For a long time, I stopped my dreams. I thought being a mom means I cannot have my own goals, but now I understand. Doing what I love makes me a better mom. I love writing, painting, or learning new things. This gives me a purpose. It shows my kids it is never too late to follow your dreams. It is a process. Every small step makes me proud. Some days are hard. Everything feels chaotic. On those days, I tell myself it is okay to not be perfect. I let myself feel my emotions. I can feel frustrated, sad, or tired. It is okay. I do not judge myself. I learned accepting my emotions helps me. It helps me move forward. When I need help, I talk to my partner, friends, or a therapist. Asking for help is not weak. It is strong and smart. I continue to learn about motherhood and self-care. Some days are good, some days are bad. It is okay. What matters is I try. I try to be present. I try to take care of myself. I try to create a balanced life. It is not easy, but it is worth it. When I take care of myself, I help my family too. I help my future. I help build the life I want. I keep going step by step. I remind myself, I am enough. I do my best. I deserve love and care like I give to others. This is a journey. I am still learning. But I promise to make myself a priority, not just today, but every day. When I take care of myself, I do not just survive. I thrive. This is the life I want. Now I understand. Self-care is not only big things. It is also small choices every day. For example, I drink water before coffee. I stretch for 5 minutes after sitting. I take a deep breath when I feel stressed. These small acts seem small, but they add up. They remind me I matter. My well-being is important. I am worth the effort. I also started rituals. Every night I write 3 things I am grateful for. Some days it is big things like a promotion or a family moment. Other days it is small things like sunlight or the smell of bread. This helps me focus on good things. It makes me feel peaceful. Another ritual is setting intentions. Every morning after tea and stretching, I think, how do I want to feel today? What do I want to do? It is not a strict plan. It is about the tone of the day. For example, I want to be patient with my kids. Or I want to find joy in small moments. Or I want to care for myself too. This helps me feel focused and purposeful. I also started journaling. I write my thoughts, fears, and dreams. No one judges me. Sometimes I write about my frustrations. For example, laundry never ends. Or balancing work and family is hard. Other times I write about my hopes. Or I write about things that make me happy. This helps me understand my emotions. It helps me know what I really want and need. I also found creativity helps me. I paint, knit, or move furniture. These activities help me feel like myself. Daily responsibilities can bury this part of me. Creativity reminds me I am not just a mom, wife, or homemaker. I am a person with talents and passions. When I express my passions, I feel alive. I feel connected to who I really am. Of course, this is not easy. Some days I feel overwhelmed. I have too many tasks. I feel like I'm drowning. Sometimes I ask, am I doing enough? Am I enough? On those days, I remind myself, I am human. It is okay to struggle. I treat myself with kindness. I treat myself like a friend. I tell myself, I am doing my best. That is enough. I also learned I do not have to do everything alone. Asking for help is not weak. It is strong. Sometimes I hire a babysitter. Sometimes I ask my partner to help with bedtime. Sometimes I talk to a friend. Leaning on others is important for my well-being. I do not have to carry everything alone. It is okay to share the load. Self-care is not a destination. It is a lifelong practice. It is about choices, big choices and small choices. These choices honor my needs. They nourish my soul. I find balance in chaos. I find joy in small things. I find peace in busy days. There will always be challenges, but I will keep trying. I see the difference it makes. It helps me. It helps those I love. So I keep going. I keep learning. I keep growing. I remind myself I deserve love, care, and happiness. I want a life that feels real and fulfilling. Not just for my family, but for me. Taking care of myself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is the best gift I can give to myself and to others. In conclusion, self-care is not just important. It is necessary. It helps you be happy, balanced, and fulfilled. A mother who balances family care and self-care becomes stronger and happier. She understands her needs matter. When she cares for herself, she can give more love to her family. I continue my journey. I think about the future. I want to leave a legacy for my children. I want them to remember me not just as a mom. I want them to remember me as a woman who lived a balanced life. I want them to see that caring for others is important, but caring for yourself is important too. I want them to know it's okay to dream. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize your well-being. I learned an important lesson. Self-care is not the same forever. It changes as I grow. It changes as my life changes. What worked for me a year ago might not work now. And that's okay. I've become more flexible. I forgive myself more easily. I adapt my routines and rituals. They fit the season of life I'm in. Some days, self-care means a long walk in nature. Other days, it's just 5 minutes of sitting quietly. Both are valid. Both are necessary. I also involve my family in my self-care journey. I realize something important. Teaching my children and husband about self-care is valuable. It helps them understand its importance. It shows them how to take care of themselves too. For example, I encourage my kids to take breaks when they feel tired. I ask my husband to join me for a walk or a cup of tea. These small moments bring us closer. They also teach them that self-care is not selfish. It's a way to stay healthy and happy. I've started to see self-care as a team effort. My family supports me, and I support them. We remind each other to take breaks. We remind each other to rest. We remind each other to enjoy life. This makes our home a happier place. It also makes our relationships stronger. I know there will still be hard days. Life is not always easy, but I feel more prepared now. I have tools to help me. I have routines that keep me grounded. I have people who support me. And most importantly, I have learned to be kind to myself. I remind myself every day, I am doing my best, and that is enough. Every day I try to practice gratitude. I think about the good things in my life. Even on hard days, I find something to be thankful for. It could be a sunny morning, or a kind word from a friend, or a quiet moment with my family. Gratitude helps me stay positive. It reminds me that life is not only about challenges. There are also small joys. I also make time for things I love. I read books that inspire me. I listen to music that makes me happy. Sometimes I try something new, like baking a new recipe or planting flowers in the garden. These activities bring me joy. They remind me that life is about more than just work and chores. I've learned to celebrate small victories. Maybe I finished a task I've been putting off, or I stayed calm during a stressful moment, or I simply took a moment to breathe. These small wins matter. They show me that I'm making progress. They remind me to be proud of myself. I also take care of my body. I eat healthy food. I drink enough water. I move my body every day. It doesn't have to be a big workout. Sometimes it's just stretching or dancing in the kitchen. These small actions keep me strong. They help me feel good in my own skin. I've started to say no more often. I used to say yes to everything, but now I know my limits. If something feels too much, I say no. This gives me more time for myself. It also gives me more energy for the things that truly matter. I've also learned to ask for help. I don't have to do everything alone. My family helps me with chores. My friends listen when I need to talk. Sometimes I even hire someone to help with cleaning or childcare. This doesn't make me weak. It makes me smart. It allows me to focus on what's important. I've realized that self-care is not just about me. It's about my family too. When I take care of myself, I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better friend. I have more patience. I have more love to give. My happiness spreads to those around me. Some days are still hard. I feel tired or overwhelmed. But now I know what to do. I take a deep breath. I remind myself that it's okay to rest. I remind myself that I'm doing my best. And I know that tomorrow is a new day, a new chance to try again. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. But I'm proud of how far I've come. I've learned to love myself. I've learned to take care of myself. And I've learned that self-care is not selfish. It's necessary. It's the foundation of a happy life. For me and for my family. So I keep going, one step at a time. I take care of myself. I take care of my family. And I enjoy the journey. Because life is not just about the destination. It's about the small moments along the way. And I want to enjoy every single one. The next morning, I wake up early. I check the alarm clock. It works this time. I get out of bed quietly. I go to the kitchen and start breakfast. Today, I make scrambled eggs for everyone. I also make toast and orange juice. My husband wakes up first. He smiles when he sees breakfast. He says, "Thank you. It makes me happy." The kids come to the kitchen next. They are still sleepy, but they eat their food. I help them get ready for school. I double-check their bags. Today, no one forgets anything. My husband leaves for work. He takes his lunchbox with him. The kids go to school. I wave goodbye to them. Now I have time to clean the house. I vacuum the living room. I wipe the tables and dust the shelves. After cleaning, I take a short break. I sit on the couch and drink tea. I think about what to cook for dinner. I decide to make chicken with rice and vegetables. I write a shopping list. I need chicken, rice, carrots, and broccoli. I go to the store. I buy everything on my list. I also buy some yogurt and apples for the kids. When I come home, I put the food in the fridge. Then I start cooking dinner early. I cut the vegetables and cook the rice. I bake the chicken in the oven. While the food cooks, I call my friend. We talk for a few minutes. It's nice to hear her voice. She tells me about her day. I tell her about mine. We laugh together. The kids come home from school. They smell the food and say, "It smells good." I smile and tell them dinner is almost ready. My husband comes home too. He helps set the table. We all sit down to eat. The food is delicious. Everyone is happy. After dinner, I wash the dishes. My husband helps me. The kids play in their room. Later, I help them with their homework. We read a story before bed. They fall asleep quickly. I sit with my husband in the living room. We talk about our day. He tells me about a project at work. I tell him about the call with my friend. We watch a little TV. Then we go to bed. I feel good today. Everything went well. I took care of my family. I also had time to talk to my friend. I know tomorrow will be busy too, but I'm ready. I will do my best again. The next day is Saturday. No one has to go to work or school. I sleep a little longer. When I wake up, I hear the kids playing in the living room. My husband is making coffee in the kitchen. I join him. We sit together and drink coffee. It's a quiet, happy moment. For breakfast, I make pancakes. The kids love pancakes. They come running to the kitchen when they smell them. We all eat together. The kids put syrup and fruit on their pancakes. They laugh and talk about their plans for the day. After breakfast, we clean the house as a family. My husband vacuums. The kids pick up their toys. I wipe the tables and wash the dishes. It's faster when we work together. Later, we go to the park. The kids ride their bikes. My husband and I walk behind them. We talk and laugh. The sun is warm and the air smells like flowers. It's a perfect day. At the park, we have a picnic. I packed sandwiches, fruit, and juice. We sit on a blanket and eat. The kids play on the swings after lunch. My husband and I watch them. We feel proud and happy. When we come home, the kids are tired. They take a nap. My husband reads a book. I sit in the garden with a cup of tea. I look at the flowers and listen to the birds. It's peaceful. In the evening, we cook dinner together. My husband grills chicken. I make a salad. The kids help set the table. We eat outside in the garden. The food tastes even better because we made it together. After dinner, we watch a movie. The kids choose a funny cartoon. We all sit on the couch with popcorn. The kids laugh at the funny parts. My husband and I laugh too. When the movie ends, it's time for bed. The kids brush their teeth and put on their pajamas. I read them a story. They fall asleep quickly. My husband and I stay up a little longer. We talk about our day. We feel happy and relaxed. Tomorrow is Sunday. We plan to visit my parents. I look forward to it. I go to bed feeling grateful. Today was a good day. We spent time together as a family. We laughed, played, and enjoyed each other's company. I know not every day is like this, but today was perfect. Hello, my friend. I'm really happy you're here with me today. Let's talk about something very important. Something that many people don't think about, but it can change everything. Today, I want to talk about this simple idea. Don't stop thinking when you speak English. Sounds strange? Maybe. But let me explain. Many people think that when you speak English, you should stop thinking. Just speak. Just say words. Fast, easy, automatic. But I don't agree. I believe that thinking is not bad. In fact, thinking helps you speak better. Let me tell you a little story. When I started learning English, I heard many people say, "Don't think, just speak." Don't translate, just feel the language. I tried that. I really did. But guess what? It didn't work for me. I felt lost. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know the words. I didn't know how to build the sentence. So I stayed quiet. Or I said something very simple. And then I felt bad. I thought, maybe I'm not good at languages. But now I know the problem wasn't me. The problem was the advice. Because the truth is, thinking is not the enemy. Thinking is your friend. Thinking helps you make good sentences. Thinking helps you use the words you know. Thinking helps you stay calm when you speak. So let's change the idea. Let's say, think better, not less. You don't need to stop thinking. You just need to think in a smart way. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're talking to someone. You want to say, I went to the park yesterday and I saw a dog playing with a ball. But you don't remember the word saw. You don't remember the word playing. Now what? Should you stop? Should you panic? No. You can think. You can find another way. You can say, I was in the park. There was a dog. The dog had a ball. It was fun. See, you still said what you wanted. It was simple, yes, but it worked. And you needed to think to do it. That kind of thinking is good. It's flexible. It's creative. It's real communication. Now, let's talk about something else. Some learners feel very stressed when they speak. They worry too much about grammar. They think, oh no, is this the past tense? Should I say go or went? What if I make a mistake? I know this feeling. I had it too. I remember once I was at a cafe trying to order coffee in English. I said, I want one coffee, please. The person smiled. She understood me, but I was shaking. My heart was beating fast. Not because I didn't know the words, but because I was thinking too much about being perfect. So here's the trick. Don't stop thinking, but don't think about the wrong things. Don't think about perfection. Think about connection. Think about meaning. Think, how can I say this in a way they will understand me? That's all. And don't be afraid to take a pause. It's okay to stop for a second. It's okay to breathe. Even native speakers pause when they talk. They say things like, let me think. You can do that too. You can say, let me think how to say that. Or, wait, I'm looking for the word. It's natural. It's human. It shows you're trying. Thinking while you speak also helps you learn. When you think, you notice your mistakes. You understand what's missing. And next time, you're better. That's how learning works. I remember one time I was talking to a friend online. We were chatting in English. I wanted to say that I was tired because I didn't sleep much, but I wrote, I sleep not good yesterday. My friend smiled and said, oh, you mean I didn't sleep well? And I thought, that sounds better. So I repeated it in my head. I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep well. I thought about it for a few minutes. I even made a little song in my mind with that sentence. It helped me remember. So yes, thinking is part of learning. And when you speak, you can still learn. You don't need to wait for the study time. Every conversation is practice. Every sentence is learning. But you have to stay present. You have to stay in the moment. You have to notice the words you use. Notice what works. Notice what's difficult. This is also thinking. Not heavy thinking. Not stressful thinking. Just light, curious thinking. A little voice in your mind that says, that was interesting. Maybe next time I'll try this word instead. That's it. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever finished a conversation in English, and then 5 minutes later you think, oh, I should have said that? Or, now I remember the word I needed. That's thinking too. And guess what? That kind of thinking is very useful. Some people call it after speaking practice. You think after the conversation is over. You remember the words. You fix your mistakes in your head. You imagine how you could say it better next time. This is learning. This is how your brain grows. So please don't feel bad when this happens. Don't say, "Oh, I'm stupid. I forgot everything." Say, "Great, I'm learning. My brain is doing the work." That's how we all get better. Now, let's go a little deeper. What does it mean to think when you speak English? Does it mean to translate every word? No, that's not the kind of thinking I'm talking about. When you start learning, yes, you often translate. You think in your language. Then you try to find the English words. That's normal. That's okay. It's the first step. But slowly you can change the way you think. You can start thinking in English. How? By using simple words. By building easy sentences. By repeating the things you already know. And by practicing every day. When I was learning, I started small. I didn't try to think about big ideas in English. No, I started with small daily thoughts. I am hungry. It's cold today. My phone is old. Little things. Then I started to think about what I needed. I need to buy milk. I have to go to work. Again, simple. But it helped me build a habit of thinking in English. At first, it felt strange. I thought, why am I talking to myself in English? But then I realized it works. It's like practice. Quiet practice, private practice. No one hears you. No one judges you. Just you and your thoughts. So if you want to speak better, don't stop thinking. Just train your thoughts. Make them simple. Make them English. Even just 5 minutes a day. For example, when you're walking somewhere, look around and describe what you see. There is a dog. That car is red. I see a woman with a bag. That's it. That's English practice. You're not just speaking, you're thinking, and that's powerful. Another thing, thinking helps you stay in control. Sometimes when you speak a new language, your brain feels like it's going too fast. Your mouth wants to go fast, but the words don't come out, or they come out wrong. So what can you do? Slow down. Take a breath. Think before you speak. You don't need to say the perfect sentence right away. You can pause. You can start simple. You can change your sentence in the middle. For example, maybe you start saying, I like to swim in the... Then you forget the word ocean. No problem. You think, okay, I'll change it. I like to swim in the water, in the sea. Is that perfect? No. But is it good communication? Yes, absolutely. This kind of thinking helps you stay relaxed. It helps you speak without fear. You don't have to say everything the same way every time. You can be flexible. You can think, how else can I say this? That's a great question. Ask it often. I remember a time when I forgot the word restaurant. I wanted to say, I went to a restaurant with my family. but I forgot the word. So I said, I went to a place where you eat food with my family. And guess what? The other person understood. They smiled and said, "Oh, a restaurant." I laughed. I said, "Yes, that's the word." And now I never forget it again. So don't be afraid to explain things. Don't stop talking just because one word is missing. Think, describe, be creative. That's what good communication is all about. And remember, this isn't only about speaking, it's about confidence. It's about feeling free in the language. You don't need to know every word, you just need to use what you know in smart ways. That's thinking, that's learning, that's progress. Okay, let's dive a little deeper into how thinking can help you speak English more naturally. Because the truth is, when you think in English, your brain starts to work faster. It becomes more comfortable with the language. You don't need to search for words as much, and you start to feel like English is just part of you. But I know what you're probably thinking. I can't just switch off my native language and start thinking in English. And you're right, it's not easy. But here's the key, little by little. It's not a magic switch. It's a process, and it happens over time. It takes patience, and you need to practice consistently. For me, it started in small moments. I didn't suddenly start thinking only in English. No. But when I was walking to the store, I'd start thinking things like, where is the milk? What time does the store close? I hope they have my favorite bread. Simple everyday thoughts. The more I did it, the easier it became. Over time, I noticed that I could think in English in more complex situations. I could talk about my feelings, about things I wanted to do, or about things I liked. And one day I realized, I'm doing it. I'm thinking in English without even trying. And that's when everything changed. But it's important to know, this doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. Thinking in English doesn't mean thinking like a native speaker. It means being comfortable with the language, making mistakes, and not being afraid to sound imperfect. Because guess what? Even native speakers make mistakes. Yes, even they do. I promise you, no one speaks perfectly all the time. So, the next time you feel that little panic when you can't remember a word, just breathe. Think for a second, and then try your best to find another way to express yourself. If you don't know the word, describe it. If you don't remember the grammar, focus on the meaning. That's what matters most. That's what people care about. The more you do this, the more automatic it becomes. Soon you'll find that the words come easier, and you'll be able to express yourself with more confidence. This is the power of thinking in English. Now, let me tell you something important. One of the most powerful tools for thinking in English is talking to yourself. It might sound a little funny at first, but trust me, it works. When you talk to yourself in English, you're practicing your speaking skills. You're making the words feel more natural. And you're not waiting for someone else to talk to you. You're doing it on your own. When I was learning English, I would talk to myself all the time. I would walk down the street and say things like, I am walking to the store. Now I am going to buy some apples. I like the weather today. It's sunny. It didn't matter that no one was listening. It didn't matter if I made mistakes. What mattered was that I was getting better. And that's how you build confidence. You build it by practicing even when no one is around. Try it for yourself. When you're at home, when you're cooking, cleaning, or doing anything really, talk to yourself. Say things like, I'm making lunch now. This is my favorite music. Where are my keys? It feels weird at first, but after a while, it becomes second nature. And it's a great way to practice your thinking in English. Also, don't forget to repeat what you say. Repeating sentences, repeating words, helps you remember them better, and it helps your brain get used to them. For example, after you learn a new word, use it in a few different sentences. Say it out loud. You can even make up your own sentences or stories. By repeating these words and phrases, you'll get more comfortable with them. They'll feel more natural in your mind, and soon you'll use them automatically. One more thing I want to mention is the importance of listening when you're learning. I know I've already talked about this in previous parts, but it's worth repeating. Listening is a huge part of thinking in English. When you listen to others, you get used to the rhythm, the words, the expressions, and the structure of the language. And that's how you can start thinking in English. You listen to the way native speakers talk, and then you start to understand how to think in English. If you listen to English every day, you'll find that over time, it becomes easier to think that way too. You don't have to understand every word. You don't have to catch everything. Just let the sounds of English surround you. Listen to songs, podcasts, TV shows, anything you can find. The more you listen, the easier it will be to think in English. And one day, it will just click. You won't even realize it, but your brain will automatically start thinking in English. Now, let's wrap things up by discussing the most important part of thinking in English: consistency. It's easy to get excited about learning a new language and start practicing a lot at first. But the real magic happens when you make English a habit. It's not about doing it for a week and then stopping. It's about doing it every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Think of it like exercising. If you go to the gym for one day, it's great. But if you go every day, even for a short time, you will see real results. The same goes for learning to think in English. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Every time you practice, you get a little bit better. And you'll start noticing that you can think faster in English, you can speak more easily, and you feel more comfortable using the language in everyday situations. It becomes less of a challenge and more of a natural flow. You won't have to force yourself to think in English, it will just happen. Something else that can help you stay consistent is to set small, achievable goals. When I was learning, I started with simple goals. I would say to myself, today I'm going to think in English for 10 minutes while I walk to the store. Or, I'm going to talk to myself in English while I cook dinner. It doesn't need to be long, just small moments where you intentionally practice thinking in English. As you reach these little goals, you'll feel motivated to do more. And before you know it, thinking in English will be a habit. You won't even think about it. It will just be part of your everyday life. And remember, it's okay if you don't feel perfect. There will be days when it feels hard, when you can't find the right words, when you struggle with grammar. That's normal. I still have moments like that even after many years of learning. But here's the thing, it's all part of the journey. Every mistake, every challenge, every moment of frustration is helping you become better. So don't get discouraged. Keep practicing, keep thinking in English, and keep moving forward. Before we finish, I want to remind you of one last thing. Enjoy the process. Learning a language is not a race. It's not about being perfect tomorrow or next week. It's about enjoying the little victories, the small progress you make every day. Enjoy the moments when you finally understand something you couldn't before. Celebrate when you speak in English for the first time without pausing or translating in your head. Every step forward is something to be proud of. The more you enjoy the process, the more fun it will be, and the more you enjoy it, the easier it will become. You'll stop seeing English as something you have to do and start seeing it as something you want to do. When that happens, you'll know that thinking in English is just part of who you are. So, let's finish with this. Keep going. Keep practicing. Keep thinking in English. Little by little, you'll get there. And before you know it, you'll be speaking English with confidence, without thinking about it. You'll be thinking in English without even trying. You can do it. I believe in you. I still remember the first time I tried to speak English with a native speaker. It was a tourist on the subway, I think. He just asked me how to get to the nearest museum. Simple question, right? But in that moment, my brain completely froze. I knew the words. I had read them, written them, heard them 100 times in movies, songs, in class. But when I needed them the most, they just disappeared. Silence. Like my brain was suddenly an empty room. Maybe you felt this too. You study, you learn, you even practice. But when it's time to speak, the words are gone. Like they're hiding. You feel stuck, embarrassed, maybe even a little angry with yourself. I want to tell you something important. You're not alone. This happens to so many English learners. In fact, it happens even to people who speak more than one language fluently. It's not about being bad at English. It's not about intelligence. It's just something that happens. And the good news is you can fix it. In this episode, I want to share with you why we forget words when speaking English, and more importantly, what we can do to stop that from happening. Not with tricks, not with magic, just real, simple things that work. So, why do we forget words? Well, the short answer is, our brain is doing too many things at once. Think about it. When you speak, you're trying to do all this at the same time. Find the right words. Put them in the right order. Say them correctly. Think about grammar. Worry about sounding okay. And sometimes do it all quickly. That's a lot. Even for a native speaker, speaking takes mental energy. For a learner, it's like juggling while riding a bicycle. No wonder something falls. And usually, what falls first is vocabulary. The words we know but somehow can't grab when we need them. It's frustrating, I know. But here's the thing, it doesn't mean your memory is bad. It doesn't mean you're failing. It just means your brain hasn't made those words easy to use. Yet. See, there's a big difference between knowing a word and being able to use it in real life. You can recognize a word when you read it. Maybe you even understand it when someone says it. But producing that word yourself, saying it out loud, that's a different skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. Let me give you an example. Imagine you learn to drive a car in a parking lot. It's calm, safe. You feel pretty confident. But then, someone asks you to drive in a busy city during rush hour. Suddenly, everything feels new again. That's how English can feel. You drive just fine in a classroom or with your app. But in a real conversation, it's noisy, fast. And your brain says, "Wait, I'm not ready." Totally normal. So what can we do about it? First, we need to understand what kind of practice helps your brain hold on to words. And no, I don't mean more grammar drills. I'm not talking about memorizing 100 words a day either. The truth is, memorization helps you recognize words, but it doesn't always help you use them. And when you're speaking, that's what you need, access. You need your brain to say, "Ah, yes, that word, right now." How do we build that? One key is to stop thinking of words as separate things. Instead, think of them as part of a team. Words live in groups, phrases, chunks, expressions. For example, don't just learn the word afraid, learn I'm afraid of, or don't be afraid to. That way, when your brain wants to talk about fear, it doesn't have to build a sentence from pieces. It already has the whole phrase ready. This is what fluent speakers do. They don't create every sentence from scratch. They use ready-made patterns. The more patterns you collect, the less you have to search for words when you speak. So, how do you collect these patterns? And how do you make sure they actually stick in your mind? Let's start with this. Pay attention to real English. Not just textbook English. I mean the kind of English people actually speak in podcasts, YouTube videos, TV shows, or even TikToks. And when you hear a phrase that feels or emotional, write it down. Not just the word, the whole phrase. Like instead of just busy, write down, "I've been really busy lately." "Sorry, I've got a lot on my plate. Things have been kind of hectic." Those are real expressions. And if you write them down and say them out loud a few times, they start to feel natural. They move from your passive memory, the part of your brain that understands, to your active memory, the part that speaks. And the more you repeat them with your mouth, not just in your head, the faster they come when you need them. Here's something I started doing that really helped. I kept a small notebook or a file on my phone called My Phrases. Every time I heard someone say something cool in English, I wrote it down. No grammar explanations, no translations, just the phrase. Later, I would come back to it and speak it out loud, in the shower, while walking, even whispering it while washing the dishes. Silly? Maybe. But powerful? Absolutely. Because here's the truth, you speak the way you practice. If you only read, your brain gets good at reading. If you only write, your brain gets good at writing. But if you want to speak, you have to practice speaking, even if it's just to yourself. A lot of people feel awkward talking to themselves in English. But let me tell you, it works. It trains your brain to fetch the words faster. It builds the muscle memory you need. I like to call this private speaking. You don't need a partner. You don't need a classroom. You just need a few minutes a day and a little curiosity. Talk about your day. Describe what you're doing. Say your thoughts out loud in English. Example, you're cooking breakfast? Try saying, I'm frying some eggs. This pan is too hot. I always burn the toast. It doesn't matter if anyone hears you. What matters is that your brain starts learning, oh, we actually use these words, I better keep them ready. Now, let's talk about another trick, storytelling. When you tell stories, you use a lot of vocabulary in context. That's gold for your memory. Instead of repeating a word like lost 20 times, you tell a short story about the time you got lost in a new city. You naturally use words like, I couldn't find the street. I asked someone for directions. It was getting dark and I felt nervous. That's real vocabulary in real action. Your brain loves stories. They make the language emotional, personal, and memorable. If you don't have anyone to tell a story to, no problem. Tell it to yourself. Record it on your phone, or even write it down and then say it out loud. Try telling the same story a few times, each time using different words. That builds flexibility. Now, let's be honest. Even if you do all this, there will still be moments when you forget a word. And that's okay. Native speakers forget words too. They say things like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember the name, but it's like, you're allowed to do that too. Learning a language doesn't mean being perfect. It means being clever, using the tools you have, finding another way to say what you mean. Can't remember the word pillow? Say the soft thing I sleep on. Can't remember frustrated? Say, I feel kind of angry and tired at the same time. That's communication. That's real English. You'll be surprised how often people understand you, even if you don't use the perfect word. And you know what? Those moments when you almost get it, when you struggle a little, those are actually helping your brain grow. They create what's called desirable difficulty. It feels hard, but that's how you get stronger. So don't beat yourself up. Instead, be proud. You're showing up. You're trying. You're doing something incredibly brave, speaking in a language that isn't your first. That takes guts, and it deserves respect. Now let's talk about confidence. Because forgetting words isn't just about memory, it's also about emotion. Have you ever noticed that it's easier to speak English when you're relaxed? Maybe when you're alone or with a friend who doesn't judge you? But when you're nervous, maybe speaking to a native speaker or in front of a group, suddenly the words disappear. That's not a language problem. That's a stress problem. When we're nervous, our brain activates the fight or flight response. It's an ancient system that prepares us for danger. Our heart beats faster, muscles tighten, breathing changes. And here's the big one. Our memory stops working properly. That's right. Stress literally makes it harder to remember words. So one of the best ways to stop forgetting vocabulary when speaking English is to lower the pressure. Here are a few simple things that helped me. 1. Breathe. Seriously. Before speaking, take one slow breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. It sounds small, but it tells your body, hey, we're safe, it's okay. 2. Smile, even if you don't feel like it. Smiling relaxes your face. It tells your brain you're not in danger. And guess what? It makes the person you're talking to feel more relaxed too. 3. Speak slower. A lot of learners think they need to speak fast to sound fluent, but speed creates panic, and panic kills vocabulary. Slow down. Pause if you need to. Fluency is not speed, it's clarity. 4. Use safe phrases. These are expressions you practice ahead of time, so when your brain freezes, you have something to grab. For example, give me a second, I forgot the word. How do you say, it's like, you know what I mean? These little phrases keep the conversation going while your brain finds the next word. It's like a bridge. You're not stuck. You're just walking across. I used to feel embarrassed when I forgot a word. I thought people would laugh at me or think I was dumb. But the more I spoke, the more I realized something important. Most people are not judging you. In fact, most people are impressed that you're even trying. Especially if they only speak one language themselves. They admire the effort. They appreciate the communication. And honestly, sometimes they don't even notice your mistakes. Because here's the beautiful thing. Communication is not about perfection. It's about connection. If you make a mistake, but the other person understands you, that's a win. If you forget a word, but you find another way to explain, that's a win. If you have an accent, but you express your ideas clearly, that's a win. You don't have to sound like a native speaker to be a good speaker. You just have to keep showing up. So let's talk about one more practical thing that can really help. Speaking repetition with variation. Here's what I mean. Take one idea, just a simple thought, and try saying it in 3 or 4 different ways. Like this. Idea. I was late for work. Try these versions. I didn't make it on time to work. I arrived at work a bit late. I got stuck in traffic and came late. Work started before I got there. They all mean the same thing, more or less. But when you practice like this, you train your brain to think flexibly. So if you forget one way to say something, you'll have backups. It's like having more than one key for the same door. You can do this with almost anything. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I need some food. My stomach's growling. Start small, maybe 5 minutes a day. But do it out loud. Record yourself if you want. Listen back. You'll be amazed how much progress you hear after just a week or 2. And if you're thinking, but I don't have time, let me tell you something that changed my own routine. Tiny practice still counts. You don't need an hour. You need moments. 1 minute while brushing your teeth, 2 minutes while making tea, 5 minutes while walking. Turn those little empty moments into your language gym. Your brain doesn't care how long you practice. It cares how often. So let's bring it all together. If you've been forgetting words when speaking English, I want you to remember this. You're not broken. Your brain is not lazy. You're not bad at languages. What's happening is normal. And more than that, it's fixable. The key is to change the way you practice. Don't just memorize. Use the language. Speak out loud. Talk to yourself. Tell little stories. Collect phrases, not just words. Use safe expressions when you get stuck. Train your brain with short daily moments of speaking. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. I mean that. This journey, learning to speak another language, it's one of the most challenging and beautiful things you can do. It stretches your brain. It changes how you think. It opens doors. And yes, sometimes it's uncomfortable. But every time you try, you're making progress. Even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you forget a word, even when you think, I should be better by now. Trust me, you're doing better than you think. Fluency doesn't happen in one big step. It happens in hundreds of tiny steps. One phrase at a time, one conversation at a time, one moment of courage at a time. And you don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to keep going. If this episode helped you, I hope you'll take one thing from it. Speak more, fear less, make mistakes proudly, forget words and find new ones. Be brave with your English even when it feels messy, because that's how real language is. It's not perfect, it's human. And you're already more fluent than you realize. Keep going, keep speaking, and remember, the words will come. Thanks for listening. Hello! Today I want to talk to you about something that many English learners struggle with. It's that moment when you ask yourself, why can I understand English when I read or listen, but I still can't think in English? Sound familiar? It definitely was for me. When I first started learning English, I thought the problem was grammar, so I studied rules, did exercises, translated texts. But eventually, I realized something important. Even if you know lots of vocabulary and all the grammar in the world, it doesn't mean you can think in English. And that's the real goal, isn't it? Thinking in English is a whole different level. It means you stop translating in your head. It means the words just come to you. You hear a sentence and you don't search for the Russian version. You just get it. But how do you get there? Honestly, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like one day you wake up and your brain has magically switched to English mode. It's more like a slow shift, a little change here, a little habit there. It's kind of like planting seeds. You don't see anything at first. But if you keep watering them, one day, boom, something grows. For me, the first seed was noticing how I talked to myself during the day. You know those little thoughts we all have? Where did I put my keys? I'm so hungry. Ugh, I forgot to send that email. I started trying to say those things in English, not out loud, just in my head. At first, it was weird. My brain wanted to do it in Russian. But I pushed a little. I didn't translate full sentences. I just tried to grab one word, then two, then a phrase. Keys. Hungry. Forgot. That was it. Just one word at a time. It was small, but it was a start. And you know what? It changed everything. Because thinking in English doesn't start with full thoughts. It starts with tiny pieces, like building blocks. First, you learn the blocks. Then you build the house. And here's something that helped me a lot. I stopped worrying about being correct. Seriously, I didn't care if my sentences were perfect. I didn't even care if they made sense sometimes. The important part was just trying, just reaching for English, even if I only got halfway there. Sometimes I'd think, where might ключи? That's fine. That's progress. That means my brain was already trying to fill the sentence with English. It was thinking differently. I also started to notice when my brain wanted to switch back to Russian, usually when I was tired, or stressed, or just being lazy. So I made it a game, like, let's see how long I can go thinking in English before Russian sneaks back in. Some days it was 5 minutes, other days it was longer. But I kept trying. And I started to notice something else. My inner voice began to sound different. That little voice inside, you know, the one that narrates your life? It slowly started to speak more English than Russian, not all the time, not every word, but enough that I noticed, enough that I smiled, because that's when I knew I wasn't just learning English anymore, I was living it. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you. You don't need to speak English all the time to start thinking in it. Yeah, really. You can build this English brain in quiet, simple ways. And one of the most powerful tools? Listening. But not just any kind of listening. I'm talking about active listening. The kind where you're not just hearing the words, but you're imagining them, feeling them, repeating them in your head, like you're part of the conversation, even if you're silent. Podcasts helped me a lot with this, especially ones that were slow, personal, and honest. Kind of like this one, I hope. I would listen to someone share a story, something simple, like their morning routine or a childhood memory, and I'd try to picture it. I'd close my eyes and imagine myself in their shoes. And sometimes I'd pause the episode and repeat a sentence out loud, just to hear how it felt in my mouth. Not to be perfect, just to feel the rhythm, the music of English. Because yes, every language has its own music. Another thing I did, and I still do, is shadowing. That's when you listen to a phrase and immediately repeat it like an echo. You don't stop the recording. You just try to speak at the same time as the speaker. At first, I was terrible. I stumbled, mumbled. My timing was off. But that's okay. It's like singing along to a new song. At first, you miss the beat, but then it clicks. What's beautiful about shadowing is that you're not just practicing pronunciation. You're training your thinking speed. Your brain learns to grab the words faster without translating. It starts to predict patterns. It gets faster, smoother. It's like muscle memory. And yes, your brain is a muscle too. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't have time for this every day. And I get it. Life is busy. But the truth is, you don't need hours and hours. Even 10 minutes a day can make a difference. If you do it with intention. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't skip it, right? It's part of your routine. You don't wait for motivation, you just do it. Try to make English like that, a habit, a small daily ritual. And here's another tip. Change the language of your phone and apps to English. I know, it sounds small, but it works. Because you stop seeing English as a subject you study and start seeing it as part of your life. The first time I changed my phone's language, I felt totally lost. I didn't know where anything was. I clicked the wrong buttons, but that's the point. I learned by using. I learned settings because I had to change something. I learned storage, battery, airplane mode, all just by living. Learning like that is powerful because it's real. And real English stays with you longer than any word list. One day, I realized something kind of funny. I was dreaming in English. Not every dream, not every night, but sometimes. And the people in the dream, even people I know don't speak English, were suddenly fluent. It was like my brain didn't care about logic. It was just using the language that felt natural in that moment. That's how I knew my brain was rewiring itself. Slowly, gently, without me even trying. And here's the thing, you don't need to be fluent to start thinking in English. That's a myth. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to know 10,000 words. You just need patience and consistency and a bit of curiosity, because the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to feel free. To say what you think, even if it's messy, even if it's broken. Because communication is not about perfection, it's about connection. And when you start thinking in English even a little bit, something amazing happens. You stop being afraid of making mistakes. You stop judging yourself so much. You become more playful, more open, more yourself, but in another language. I remember a moment. It was small, but it stuck with me. I was walking to the store thinking about what I needed to buy. Usually, I'd go through the list in Russian, but this time, without even trying, I thought, okay, I need bread, milk, eggs, maybe some fruit. And I stopped walking for a second, not because I forgot something, but because I realized I didn't translate it, not even once. That's the kind of moment that shows you your brain is changing. It's like when you first learn to ride a bike. At the start, you're wobbly. You fall a few times. You overthink everything, where to put your feet, how to steer, but then, one day, you're just riding. You're not thinking about it. You're just moving forward. That's how it feels when your thoughts begin to happen in English. Now, let's talk about fear, because, yeah, fear is real, especially when it comes to speaking, or even just thinking out loud in another language. Maybe you're afraid of sounding silly, or of making a mistake. Or maybe you're thinking, who am I to speak like a native? But let me ask you something. How did native speakers become native? They were born into it. That's it. It's not a superpower. It's not magic. They just lived with the language every day. You're choosing to do it on purpose. That's powerful. You're building your own English brain step by step. And yes, your version might sound different. You might use simple words. You might have an accent. But so what? You're still thinking in a second language. That's not something to hide. That's something to be proud of. I used to be scared of speaking English around native speakers. I was afraid they'd laugh, or be impatient, or just not understand me. But most of the time, something unexpected happened. They were kind, curious, supportive. Because here's a secret. People love when you try to speak their language. It shows effort, it shows heart. And honestly, most native speakers don't care if your grammar isn't perfect. They care that you're trying. They care that you're connecting. And once I accepted that, I started to relax. I stopped trying to sound fluent. I just tried to sound like me, but in English. That's when things really changed. My thoughts became lighter. My sentences became smoother. And little by little, I stopped fighting with the language. I started playing with it. You know how kids learn? They don't sit at a desk and study grammar books. They play. They copy. They try things. They make mistakes, and they laugh, and they try again. That's what I started doing. If I didn't know a word, I'd describe it in another way. If I forgot a verb, I'd use my hands to explain. If I said something wrong, I didn't stop. I just kept talking. That mindset, that playfulness, that's what helped me think in English more naturally. And something else started to happen. I began to feel in English. Not just think, not just speak, feel. Like when I was watching a movie and something emotional happened. And instead of reacting in Russian, my brain whispered, "That's so sad." Or when I felt proud of myself, and the phrase that came to mind was, "I did it." Those moments felt real, honest, like English wasn't just a language anymore. It was a part of my emotional world. That's when you know the language is becoming yours. Not borrowed, not studied, yours. But here's the truth. This journey has ups and downs. Some days you'll feel like you're making huge progress. Other days you'll feel stuck. You'll forget words you know you knew. You'll get tired, frustrated. You'll feel like giving up. Don't. Because that's not failure. That's just part of learning. That's your brain doing the work. Growing. Rebuilding old habits into new ones. Thinking in English doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It means you keep going, even when you do. You know what else helped me start thinking in English? Curiosity. I mean that deeply. Like when you're watching a show and someone says a phrase you don't know, and instead of skipping it, you pause and go, "Wait, what does that mean?" And then you look it up. You hear it again in another show, and again in a song. Suddenly, it's stuck in your head, and without realizing it, you've added one more brick to that English-thinking brain of yours. That's what I started doing. I stopped studying English like a subject, and I started treating it like a mystery I wanted to solve. Every time I heard a word I didn't know, I'd try to get what it meant from the situation. Sometimes I'd be right. Sometimes I'd be completely off. But that's okay. It made me pay attention. It made me feel involved. I even started keeping a little notebook. Nothing fancy, just a place where I could write down cool words, useful phrases, things that made me laugh. I didn't try to memorize everything. I just kept them close, like a personal collection of English treasures. And over time, to show up. Instead of thinking, "Это ужасно," I'd catch myself thinking, "This is a nightmare." Instead of "Я устал," and the phrase, "I'm so tired." Not because I forced it, just because I had seen it, heard it, felt it enough times. That's what thinking in English is. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about experience. About giving your brain more chances to live in English. And ways. Start with what you love. If you like cooking, watch cooking videos in English. Listen to recipes. Repeat the steps out loud. Say, "Now I add the salt," even if no one's listening. Make English part of your hobby. If you like games, play them in English. Turn on subtitles. Talk to your teammates. Read the dialogue. Learn how people actually talk, the real, everyday language that textbooks sometimes miss. If you like journaling, try writing in English, even just one sentence a day. It doesn't have to be deep. It can be simple. Today I was happy. I miss my friend. The sky looked beautiful. These are your thoughts, your feelings, and they deserve to live in English too. One of the biggest shifts for me was when I stopped treating English as homework and started treating it as a place I could visit, a place where I could exist, even just for a few minutes a day. It didn't matter that I made mistakes. It didn't matter that I sometimes ran out of words. What mattered was showing up, again and again, like visiting a friend, like watering a plant, like building something that mattered to me. Because that's what language is. It's a bridge between you and the world, between you and other people, and yes, between you and parts of yourself you maybe haven't met yet. There were parts of me that only came out when I was speaking English. I don't know why. Maybe the different language gave me permission to think differently, to express emotions in new ways. to be a little braver, a little softer, a little more open, and that was beautiful. Because thinking in English wasn't just about learning a skill, it was about expanding who I was, about becoming a fuller version of me. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, when will I finally be able to think in English? I want you to know you already can. Maybe not all the time, maybe not fully, but every time you switch even one little thought into English, you're doing it. You're already on the path, and every step counts. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one more thought. Thinking in English, like any real, meaningful change, is not a finish line. It's not a place you arrive at one day and say, "Okay, I'm done." No. It's more like a journey you carry with you, a daily practice, a way of seeing the world just a little bit differently. Some days will feel easy. Some days will feel hard. And that's okay. That's part of it. You might find yourself slipping back into your native language. You might get stuck. You might feel like your thoughts are slower, heavier. But don't give up. That's not failure. That's growth in disguise. Remember, you're not trying to erase your first language. You're expanding your mind to hold another one. That's powerful. That's brave. And you're not alone. There are millions of people out there, just like you, building this new way of thinking, one word at a time. Some are beginners, some are advanced. But we're all on the same road. And the best part, every time you choose to think in English, even a little, you're giving yourself freedom. Freedom to travel. Freedom to connect. Freedom to express yourself in a new voice. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start now with one thought, one phrase, one breath in English. Look around and name what you see. Ask yourself simple questions. Talk to yourself while you wash the dishes or walk down the street. Let English live in the quiet spaces of your day. Let it grow. Let it change you. And most of all, be kind to yourself. You're doing something amazing. You're learning to live, feel, and think in a new language. That takes time, but it's worth every minute. Thanks for being here with me today. I hope this story, these little moments, you feel a bit more connected, a bit more confident. Keep going. And hey, if you caught yourself thinking in English while listening to this, you're already doing it. This is your journey, and it's just getting started. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy to have you here today. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a movie in English and understood almost everything? Or maybe you listened to a podcast like this one and you thought, wow, I actually get it. But then, when it's your turn to speak, suddenly your mind goes blank. The words disappear. You want to say something, but nothing comes out. If this sounds familiar, don't worry. You're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common problems I hear about from English learners. You understand a lot, maybe even everything, but speaking? That's the hard part? Why is that? Why can we understand English pretty well, but still struggle so much when it's time to talk? Well, I want to explore that today. Let's break it down together. I'll keep it simple, clear, and hopefully a little bit fun too. So first, let's think about what understanding really means. When you listen to English, whether it's a podcast, a TV show, or a YouTube video, you're using your ears and your brain. You're picking up sounds, words, and phrases. Your brain is matching them to what you already know. You don't have to speak. You don't have to produce anything. You just sit back and absorb. But speaking, oh, that's different. Speaking is active. It's like a performance. You need to think quickly. You need to choose the right words, put them in the right order, and say them out loud, all in real time. No time to pause, no time to look things up. And that's scary. Think about learning to play an instrument, like the piano. You can listen to beautiful music all day long. You might even recognize the melody and feel the emotion behind it. But listening to a piano and actually playing it, two totally different things. It's the same with English. Understanding is like listening to the music. Speaking is like playing the song yourself. And that takes practice. A lot of learners tell me, I understand English, but I can't speak. And I always say, that's okay. You've already done something really important. You've built a strong foundation. Understanding is the first step, but now it's time to build the next level, speaking. Now, here's one big reason speaking is so difficult: translation. Let me explain. Many learners, maybe you too, think in their native language first. They form a sentence in their own language, then try to translate it into English. Sounds logical, right? But there's a problem. Imagine trying to have a conversation while reading a dictionary at the same time. Every time someone asks you a question, you flip through your mental phrase book, trying to find the English version of what you want to say. It's slow. It's stressful. It doesn't work well. So what can we do instead? Think, oh, that sounds hard. Stay with me. I promise it's not as scary as it seems. Thinking in English means you stop translating. You start forming your thoughts directly in English. And yes, this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's a habit you can build, step by step. One way to start? Begin small, very small. Start with everyday objects around you. Look at your phone and say, "This is my phone." Look outside and say, "It's sunny," or "It's raining." You don't need to say anything complicated. Just use simple phrases. The goal is to get your brain used to starting in English, not translating from another language. Another great trick? Narrate your day, out loud or in your head. For example, when you're brushing your teeth, say, "I'm brushing my teeth." When you're making coffee, say, "I'm making coffee." When you leave your house, say, "I'm going to work." It might feel silly at first, but trust me, this is a powerful way to start thinking in English naturally. Okay, now let's talk about confidence. Because let's be honest, even when you can speak English, sometimes you just don't want to. You're afraid of making mistakes, afraid of sounding silly, afraid someone won't understand you, and again, totally normal. We've all been there. I remember trying to speak French during a trip to Paris. I opened my mouth, and what came out was, well, not very good. The waiter smiled politely. I wanted to hide under the table. But here's the thing. Mistakes are part of learning. They're not just okay, they're necessary. If you're afraid of making mistakes, you're never going to speak. And if you don't speak, you won't improve. It's a cycle, and the only way to break it is to speak anyway. I always tell my students, make mistakes proudly. Say the wrong word. Forget the grammar. Mix up your tenses. Who cares? The point is, you tried, and that's what matters. Over time, your mistakes become fewer. Your sentences get smoother, and your confidence grows. Speaking will sound smoother and more confident. Now, let me give you a tip for making shadowing even more effective. Don't just repeat the words, listen closely to how they're said. Pay attention to the details. Where does the speaker pause? Which words do they stress? How does their voice go up or down at the end of a sentence? These little things, the rhythm, the intonation, the music of English, they make a big difference. If you copy them, your English will start to sound more natural, more real, more fluent. You don't need to understand every word at first. Just focus on the flow. You're training your ear and your mouth at the same time. Think of it like singing along to your favorite song. At first, you might mumble some parts, but after a few tries, you're singing the whole chorus confidently. And here's the good news. You can do this anywhere. While you're walking, cooking, doing the dishes, just pop in your earphones. Recording yourself is one of the best ways to improve your English speaking. Why? Because it gives you a chance to hear yourself. When you speak, you might think you're being clear, but when you listen to the recording, you might notice things you didn't expect. Maybe you speak too fast. Maybe your pronunciation of a certain word is off. Maybe your sentences don't flow smoothly. But here's the important part. Don't be too hard on yourself. This isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming aware. When you notice what needs work, you can actually fix it. So how do you do this? Easy. Pick a simple topic. Maybe my favorite movie, or what I did last weekend, or even what I see around me right now. Then speak for 1 or 2 minutes. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about mistakes. Just talk. Then listen to it. Yes, it might feel weird, but I promise this is where the magic happens. Hear patterns. You'll hear what sounds good and what doesn't, and you can use that information to get better. You can even keep a voice diary. Every day, record a short message to yourself. Just talk about your day, what you liked, what annoyed you, what you're looking forward to. After a few weeks, go back and listen to your older recordings. You'll hear progress, real progress, and that's a great feeling. Now, let's talk about something very simple, but very powerful, everyday phrases. You know, a lot of learners want to use big, complicated vocabulary. And that's great, eventually. But in real conversation, most often the most basic. Think about it. How often are you? That sounds good. I'm not sure. Can I ask you something? No something? No problems. They're the glue of conversation. Them really well, like really own them. Your speaking will become much say them naturally. So here's a little challenge. Make a list of 10 to 20 everyday phrases. Practice them out loud every day. Use them in different ways. Them while walking. Say them while walking. Say them in the mirror. Catter. Just say them. The goal is to make these phrases Okay. So far we've talked about instead of translating, shadowing native speakers, recording yourself speaking, mastering everyday phrases. These are all practical things you can do today to improve your speaking. But now I want to touch on something just as important, and that's consistency. Consistency means doing a little bit every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. You don't need to spend hours studying, but you do need to keep going. One step at a time, every single day. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't brush for 2 hours once a week, right? You brush for 2 minutes every day. Learning English is the same. It's not about how much you do at once. It's about how often you do it. So, make English part of your daily routine. Combine it with things you already do. For example, listen to an English podcast while commuting. Watch 10 minutes of an English YouTuber while having lunch. Practice a few phrases before going to bed. Small steps, big results. Now, let's say you're doing all of this. You're thinking in English. You're practicing every day. But still, when it comes to speaking with real people, you freeze. Your brain says, nope, not ready. What do? Well, you start small. Start with short conversations, low pressure. You don't need to give a speech or debate philosophy. Just say hi to someone online, leave a comment on a video. Ask a simple question in a forum. Or do the same. Let your English be messy. Let it be simple. Let it be full of mistakes. That's how you grow. Mistakes aren't the opposite of learning. They are learning. So the next time you feel nervous about speaking, try saying this to yourself. I don't need to speak perfectly. I just need to speak. And trust me, the more you do, the more natural it becomes. Your confidence will grow. Your sentences will flow. Your vocabulary will expand. But it all starts with that first step. Now, before we wrap up, let's review some of the key ideas we've talked about today. Think in English, don't translate in your head. Make English part of your inner voice. Shadow native speakers, repeat what you hear, and match their rhythm and pronunciation. Record yourself speaking, listen back, notice your habits, and improve over time. Master everyday phrases. They're the building blocks of real conversations. Be consistent. A little bit of practice every day makes a big difference. Start small, short conversations, low pressure, friendly partners. Embrace mistakes. Don't fear them. Learn from them. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Remember, learning to speak English is a journey, and just like any journey, it takes time, effort, and patience. But you don't have to walk it alone. There are millions of learners out there just like you. and you have more support and resources than ever before. So keep going, keep practicing, keep speaking, even if it's one sentence a day, even if your words come out slowly, even if you feel nervous. Because with every word, every phrase, every brave attempt, you are becoming a speaker of English. And that's something to be proud of. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I hope you feel a little more confident, a little more motivated. This felt impossible. I remember once I wanted to ask someone, "Where is the bathroom?" I had practiced it 100 times. But when the moment came, I just stood there, smiling, nodding, hoping they would magically understand me without words. It was frustrating and honestly a little embarrassing. But here's the thing I've learned over time, and I want to share it with you today. Freezing doesn't mean you're bad at English. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't even mean you're not ready. Freezing is something our brains do when they feel unsafe. It's a natural reaction, like when a deer hears a sound in the forest, it stops. It doesn't run right away. It freezes first to figure out if there's danger. Your brain is doing the same thing. Speaking in a foreign language, especially in real situations, feels risky. What if I make a mistake? What if they don't understand me? What if they laugh? What if I sound silly? These thoughts might not even be conscious. Even when it's scary, even when you might make mistakes, even when your voice shakes a little. And today I want to talk to you about that. Why we freeze, and more importantly, how to unfreeze, not by pushing yourself harder, but by understanding what's really going on, and learning to work with your brain, not against it. Let's dive in. So, how do we actually start to unfreeze when it's time to speak English? Well, the first step is probably not what you expect. It's not to speak more. It's to slow down, to pause, to breathe. I know. Everyone says, just speak, practice, jump in. And yes, practice is important. But if your body is in panic mode, pushing harder usually just makes things worse. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone told you, relax, and that actually helped? Probably not, because relaxation isn't something we can force. It's something we create by giving our nervous system what it needs. So instead of jumping into the deep end, we start at the shallow part of the pool. We build safety. Slowly, gently. And the cool part is there are real, simple ways to do that. Here's one that helped me a lot. Talk to yourself. Not in a weird way, just in small, friendly ways. Like, okay, I'm going to make some tea. Oh, I like this song. What should I eat for dinner? It might sound silly, but it works because there's zero pressure. No one is judging you. You're just letting your mouth get used to forming words, like warming up your voice, like stretching before a workout. You can even say these things in a whisper or in your head at first. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to tell your brain, hey, it's safe to speak. Nothing bad is happening. Another thing that helps, shadowing. That means you listen to someone speak, maybe in a podcast or a YouTube video, and you repeat after them. as close to real time as possible. You copy their rhythm, their tone, even their pauses. At first, it feels awkward, but soon you'll notice something amazing. You start to feel more natural, more confident. You're borrowing someone else's fluency just for a moment, and with time, it becomes yours. But maybe you're thinking, okay, sure, I can talk to myself. I can shadow a podcast. But what about real conversations? What about when I'm talking to a real person and I still freeze? Yeah, that's the tough part. I get it. Let's talk about that. When we're in real conversations, we often feel like we have to perform. Like we're on stage. We want to say things right. We want to sound smart, polite, fluent. And that pressure, it builds up fast. One mistake I used to make, and I see this a lot, is trying to plan everything in my head before I speak. You know what I mean? You're thinking, okay, I'll say this, then they'll say that, then I'll reply with this. But the problem is, real conversations don't follow scripts. People interrupt. They change topics. They say things you didn't expect. And when that happens, your whole plan falls apart. That's when the freeze kicks in. So, what's the alternative? Get comfortable with messy. Seriously, learn to love the mess. Instead of planning whole sentences, focus on just one word, one idea, one small piece. Let's say someone asks, "What did you do last weekend?" And your brain starts panicking. Wait, how do I say I went to the countryside with my friends and we had a barbecue and played volleyball until sunset? In perfect English? Don't. Start with something simple, something small, like, countryside, friends, barbecue. It might sound like broken English, but guess what? The other person will get it, and they'll probably help you build the rest. Maybe they'll ask, "Oh, you went to the countryside?" And you'll say, "Yes, with friends. We ate, played volleyball." Not perfect, but real. And you're talking. And that's the key. Fluency begins with being okay with imperfection. The more you allow yourself to be bad, the faster you'll get good. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Perfection is a wall. It blocks your progress. But communication? That's a bridge. Even if it's made of rough, shaky wood at first, it still connects people. And that's what language is for. Now, I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but changes everything once you understand it. Confidence comes after action, not before. Let me say that again. Confidence comes after action, not before. So many people wait to feel confident before they speak English. They say things like, "I'll talk when I feel ready." "I just need a bit more vocabulary first." "I'll speak when I'm not so nervous." But the truth is, you might never feel 100% ready, and that's okay. Confidence isn't something you get first. It's something you earn by doing the scary thing, little by little, and surviving it. Your brain needs evidence. It needs to see that you spoke and nothing terrible happened. That you forgot a word and the world didn't end. That you made a grammar mistake and the person still understood you. That you paused awkwardly and still You were okay. That's how confidence grows, not from books, not from theory, but from small moments of courage. And yes, it's hard, I won't lie. But you don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave for a few seconds at a time. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I was traveling alone. I was in a small town, and I needed to buy a train ticket. The woman at the counter didn't speak my language. I didn't speak hers. We had to use English. And you know what? I froze. Me, someone who teaches language learning, I totally froze. But I took a deep breath. I smiled, and I said, "Train to Prague, tomorrow." Not perfect, not fancy, but enough. She looked at me, nodded, typed something, showed me the schedule. We figured it out. And I walked away thinking, okay, that wasn't smooth, but I did it, I spoke, it worked. That tiny success gave me more confidence than any grammar lesson ever had. So, if you're waiting to feel confident before you speak, maybe it's time to flip the script. Instead, say, "I'll speak first. The confidence will follow." Now, let's talk about one more really common reason people freeze when speaking English. The fear of being judged. This one runs deep. Because, let's be honest, no one wants to feel stupid. No one wants to make mistakes in front of others. Especially not strangers. Especially not native speakers. You might think, they'll laugh at me. They'll think I'm dumb. They'll judge my accent, my grammar, my words. And that fear, it's real. I won't pretend it isn't. But here's a little secret. Most people are not judging you. They're not focusing on your mistakes. They're focusing on understanding you. Think about it. Have you ever spoken to someone who was learning your language? Did you judge them harshly? Or did you feel impressed that they were trying? Maybe you even felt a little protective. Like, wow, good for them. It's the same when you speak English. Most people admire you for trying. They know it's hard. They respect the effort. And for the rare person who does judge you, forget them. Seriously, that says more about them than it does about you. You don't need to be perfect to be respected. You just need to be real. I'll tell you something else that helps with this. Community. When you're surrounded by people who are also learning, also making mistakes, also freezing sometimes, it reminds you that you're not alone, that it's normal. Join a language group, find a speaking club, make a friend who's learning too. Create a safe space where you can laugh at your mistakes. Celebrate your little wins. Support each other when it's hard. Language is connection, so don't try to do it all alone. All right, now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools to help you stop freezing when you speak English. It's not an app, it's not a book, it's not even a teacher, it's your own attention. Let me explain. When you're speaking and suddenly freeze, what's actually happening in that moment? Usually it's not because you don't know the word. It's because your attention has shifted from the conversation to your inner critic. You start thinking things like, Did I say that right? Was that the correct tense? Do I sound stupid right now? Are they judging me? Suddenly, you're not in the conversation anymore. You're in your head, analyzing, judging, panicking. And guess what? When your attention is focused on fear, your words disappear. That's just how the brain works. So how do you fix it? You train your attention, you gently bring it back to the conversation, to the person in front of you, to the moment you're in. Instead of thinking, am I making a mistake? Try thinking, what is this person trying to say to me? Instead of, what's the correct way to respond? Try, what do I feel like saying right now? Bring your attention back to connection, curiosity, play. It won't be perfect, but that's not the goal. The goal is to stay in the moment. And here's something that helps. Focus on listening more than speaking. When you listen deeply, you feel more relaxed. You stop worrying so much about your next sentence. You start responding naturally because you're present. And when you do speak, you're more likely to say something real, something connected, even if it's just a few simple words. Now, let's talk about another practical trick, something that helped me a lot. Learn fallback phrases. These are simple go-to sentences you can use when your mind goes blank. Things like, give me a second. How do you say, I don't know the word, but it's like, let me try to explain. These little phrases are like life jackets. They keep you floating when the conversation feels like it's sinking. You don't need to be fluent to stay in a conversation. You just need tools to help you keep going, even when you're unsure. Think of them as your emergency kit. You don't want to use them all the time, but when you need them, they're so helpful. And here's something even better. When you use these phrases, people usually help you. They jump in, they guess the word, they finish your sentence, and suddenly, boom, the freeze is gone and you're talking again. So don't wait until you feel fluent. Start building your little toolbox of real, usable phrases today. You'll be surprised how much power they give you. And while we're here, let me tell you another thing I wish someone had told me when I started speaking English. Pauses are okay. Silence is okay. Not knowing is okay. Fluency doesn't mean speaking fast. It means communicating with confidence, even if that means taking your time. I used to be terrified of silence. I thought, if I pause, they'll think I don't know what I'm doing. But now I pause all the time. I think. I breathe. I choose my words. And guess what? People respect that. They listen. Because when you speak calmly and clearly, it's not just about language, it's about presence. You don't need to rush. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to connect, to be real, to show up as you are, mistakes and all. So, what does it all come down to? You freeze when speaking English not because you're not smart enough, not because you're not studying hard enough, and definitely not because you're just not good at languages. You freeze because your brain is trying to protect you, because your nervous system is doing its job, because speaking in another language is vulnerable, and your brain sees vulnerability as risk. And the way to unfreeze? It's not about pushing harder. It's about creating safety. Bit by bit, speak to yourself. Shadow podcasts. Use fallback phrases. Focus on listening. And most of all, let it be messy. Let it be imperfect. Let it be real. Confidence doesn't come first. Mistakes don't mean failure. Silence doesn't mean you don't belong. If you're showing up, if you're trying, you're already doing the hardest part. One sentence at a time, one breath at a time. Remember, fluency isn't a finish line. It's a relationship between you and the language, between you and yourself, between you and the people you're learning to connect with. So next time you freeze, pause, smile, and speak anyway, even if it's not perfect, even if it's just a word or two, because that's where it starts. That's where everything changes. You got this? I'm proud of you. Thanks for listening. And remember, your voice deserves to be heard. When I first started learning English, I thought I knew exactly what to do. Textbooks, grammar rules, vocabulary lists. I had it all. I was organized. I studied every day. I knew all the tenses. I could explain the difference between present perfect and past simple. But I couldn't speak. It's a strange feeling, right? You know the words, you know the rules. But when the moment comes, when you have to actually say something in English, your brain freezes. Your mouth doesn't move. You go blank. Sound familiar? I think so. If you're listening to this podcast, maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you've been learning English for months or even years. You've done the courses, you've passed the tests, but when it comes to speaking, you feel stuck. I've been there. I know that frustration. I remember one moment so clearly. I was in a cafe. A tourist asked me something in English, just something simple like, "Do you know where the train station is?" And I knew the answer. I knew what to say, but I just stood there, smiling awkwardly, trying to find the right words. My brain was screaming, "Say it! You know this!" But my mouth said nothing. After the tourist left, I felt terrible, embarrassed, stupid. I thought, why is this so hard? I study every day. I understand English, but I can't speak it. And that's when I realized something. I was doing it all wrong. Learning English is not the same as speaking English. Those are two different skills. It's like learning about swimming by reading a book. You can learn all the theory, all the techniques, but the first time you jump into the water, it's still going to feel scary. And that's what happens to so many learners. We focus too much on studying and not enough on using the language. We try to be perfect. We want to say every sentence without mistakes. We worry too much about grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary. But here's the truth. Speaking is messy. Real conversations are full of mistakes. Native speakers make them all the time. We pause. We forget words. We say and We change our minds mid-sentence. That's normal. That's human. But language learners often don't allow themselves that freedom. We try to speak like a textbook, and when we can't, we go silent. So what are you doing wrong? You're probably focusing too much on knowing the language and not enough on feeling it. You're probably scared of making mistakes. You're probably waiting until your English is good enough to start speaking, but that moment never comes. And look, I get it. I did the same. For a long time, I thought, if I just study a little more, I'll be ready. But the truth is, speaking doesn't work like that. You don't wait until you're ready. You become ready by doing it, badly at first, but doing it anyway. And that's when things started to change for me. Not when I finished another course, not when I memorized another 100 words, but when I started speaking, really speaking with real people. Even if my sentences were wrong, even if my pronunciation was weird, even if I forgot basic words like spoon or dog or yesterday. That's how fluency starts. It doesn't start with knowing everything. It starts with being brave enough to try again and again and again. I know it's hard, but if you're stuck, if you feel like you can't speak English, then maybe, just maybe, you've been looking in the wrong direction. And in this episode, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about what's actually stopping you from speaking. Not the grammar, not the vocabulary, but the mindset, the habits, the invisible things that no one talks about in language classes, but that make all the difference. Because once you understand those things, everything changes. And trust me, I'm not just saying that. I've lived it. Let's start with something simple but powerful. You don't have to be perfect to be understood. I want to repeat that. You don't have to be perfect to be understood. Most learners I talk to, maybe even you, are waiting for the moment when their English is good enough. You think, once I stop making mistakes, then I'll start speaking. Or, once I sound like a native, then I'll feel confident. But that day doesn't come. Because even advanced learners make mistakes. Even native speakers mess up their grammar or use the wrong word sometimes. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who spoke your language with a strong accent, maybe with some mistakes, but you still understood them? Maybe they said things in a strange order or forgot a word, or used the wrong tense, but you still got the message? Of course you have. And did you judge them for it? Did you laugh at them? Probably not, because you knew what they meant. You were focused on the message, not the grammar. But when it's you speaking, suddenly the rules change. You think, if I make a mistake, they'll think I'm stupid. If I say it wrong, they won't understand me. If I sound weird, they'll laugh. It's not true, but I understand why you feel that way. We all want to feel in control when we speak. We want to sound smart. We want to impress. But when you're learning a language, you have to give that up, just a little. You have to let yourself sound awkward, like a beginner. Like someone who's still learning. Because guess what? You are still learning, and that's okay. Actually, that's more than okay. That's brave. Speaking a new language is one of the most courageous things you can do. You're using sounds that aren't natural to you. You're thinking in another system. Your mouth, your brain, they're doing something totally new. And yeah, it's going to be messy at first. But here's the thing, mess is part of the process. There's a beautiful quote I love. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly at first. I didn't believe that when I started learning English. I wanted to be good right away. I thought, if I can't do it perfectly, maybe I shouldn't do it at all. But that kind of thinking kept me stuck for a long time. Now I know if something feels hard, that doesn't mean you're bad at it. It just means you're learning. Your brain is building connections. Your mouth is practicing new movements. Your ears are getting used to new sounds. That's not failure, that's progress. But it doesn't feel like progress, does it? No, it feels like struggle, like frustration, like standing in front of someone and forgetting a word you've known for years. But if you can push through that feeling just a little, if you can keep talking even when it's awkward, something amazing happens. One day, you'll notice that your words come out a little faster. Your sentences are a little clearer. You'll say something, and the other person will smile and say, "Oh yeah, I get it." And that moment, that little yes, will feel like magic. Because that's what speaking is. It's not about being perfect. It's about connecting. That's the part most people forget. You're not speaking English to pass a test. You're speaking to connect with someone, to share an idea, to ask for help, to tell a story, to make a joke, to say how you feel. And you don't need perfect grammar for that. You just need the courage to open your mouth and try, even if it comes out wrong. Especially if it comes out wrong, because every time you try, you grow. Every conversation is a step forward. Every awkward pause is training. Every, moment is part of the learning process. But let's be honest, most traditional language classes don't prepare us for that. They prepare us for tests, for writing essays, for choosing the correct answer in multiple choice questions. But speaking is wild. It's unpredictable. It's alive. And that's what makes it hard and beautiful. So if you feel like you can't speak English, I want you to ask yourself something. Are you really practicing speaking? Or are you just studying about speaking? Because those are two very different things. Reading grammar books is not speaking. Watching movies is not speaking. Even listening to this podcast, as helpful as I hope it is not speaking. You have to speak out loud, with your voice, with real people, or even just with yourself. And yeah, I know that sounds scary, but don't worry. We'll talk about how to do that in a way that feels safe, that feels possible. That works, even if you're shy or busy or don't live in an English-speaking country. You can build your confidence slowly, step by step. But first, we have to unlearn some bad habits, because most learners are doing a few key things wrong without even realizing it, and those habits are keeping you silent. Let's break them. So, what are the bad habits? Let me tell you about the biggest one. You think too much before you speak. Sounds weird, right? You might think, isn't thinking a good thing? Well, not always. Here's what usually happens. You're in a conversation. Someone asks you a question in English. Simple question, like, "What did you do yesterday?" And suddenly your brain goes into overdrive. Okay, yesterday is past, so I need past tense. Did something, but what's the word for walk again? Wait, is it regular? Irregular? Is it walked or woke? Ugh, don't say woked again. That was embarrassing last time. And don't forget pronunciation. Focus on that ed sound. Meanwhile, the other person is just waiting, and you're stuck in your head. You know what you want to say. You've probably said it before, but your brain is checking every little thing, like a grammar security guard. And that takes time, too much time. That moment, that delay, is where most learners get stuck. And here's the funny part. The more English you know, the worse this can get. Why? Because now you know how much can go wrong. You're aware of all the grammar, the tenses, the articles, the prepositions, and that awareness becomes a wall. You're trying to build a perfect sentence in your head before you open your mouth. But conversations don't wait. So what's the solution? Stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be fast. Say the sentence the wrong way, but say it. Just say something, even if it sounds like, "Yesterday I walked to friend house." It's okay, you said it. The other person probably understood you. And more importantly, you spoke. That's already a win. And the more you do that, the better you get. Here's a trick I used when I was learning. I stopped translating in my head. Seriously, translation is a big trap. If your native language is very different from English, translating every sentence word by word will only slow you down. You'll end up with strange grammar and confused expressions. Instead, try this. Learn phrases, not just words. Learn small, useful chunks of language. Not just go, but go to the store, go for a walk, go out tonight. Not just want, but I want to try. Do you want some? I don't really want to go. Phrases are how native speakers speak, not word by word, but block by block. And when you have a lot of these phrases in your brain, you don't need to think so much. You just grab a chunk and throw it into the conversation. It's like Lego. You don't build a castle from powder. You use blocks. So give yourself those blocks. Listen for them, notice them, repeat them, use them. Another bad habit, only listening, never speaking. This is a big one. So many learners think, if I just listen to English every day, one day I'll be able to speak. But that's not how it works. Listening and speaking are connected, but they're not the same skill. You can understand 90% of what people say, but still struggle to say 10% of what you want to say. Why? Because speaking is physical. It's not just mental. Your mouth has to practice. Your tongue, your lips, they're doing a new dance. You can't learn that dance just by watching. You have to move. You have to speak. Even if you're alone, even if it feels silly. One thing that helped me was shadowing. Maybe you've heard of it. It's simple. You listen to a sentence, then repeat it immediately, trying to copy the pronunciation, rhythm, and speed. You're not translating. You're not analyzing. You're just speaking. It feels weird at first, but it works. It teaches your mouth to move in a new way, and slowly English starts to feel more natural. There's also something powerful in hearing your own voice in English. At first, it might feel strange. You might think, "Ugh, do I really sound like that?" Yes, and it's okay. The more you speak out loud, the more you get used to your voice in another language. And that's a big step toward fluency, feeling comfortable in the language. Because fluency is not just about speed, it's about comfort. It's about being able to say what you want to say, even if it's not perfect. It's about not panicking when someone speaks to you in English. It's about trusting yourself to find the words, even if it takes a second. And that trust comes from practice. Not perfect practice, messy practice, daily, real, imperfect practice. That's what builds confidence. And confidence, that's what breaks the silence. So if you're stuck, ask yourself, am I trying to be perfect instead of real? Am I listening more than I'm speaking? Am I afraid to make mistakes? And if the answer is yes, good, because now you know what to change. Now you can begin to speak, not later. Now, so let's take a breath. We've talked about a lot in this episode. Maybe some of it was familiar, maybe some of it was new, but I hope, more than anything, that it helped you feel seen. If you've been feeling stuck with your English, if you've been thinking, why can't I speak? Now you know. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because English is too hard. It's because of how you've been learning and what you've been focusing on. You've probably been doing what everyone tells you to do: study, memorize, repeat. But speaking needs something else. It needs action. It needs risk. It needs you. Let's recap the key ideas simply. 1. You don't need perfect English to speak. You just need enough to communicate, to connect, to say what's on your mind, even if the grammar's messy. 2. Stop thinking so much. Speak first. Fix later. Don't wait for the perfect sentence. Just say something. Every try makes you stronger. 3. Learn phrases, not just words. Think in blocks. Use the same phrases native speakers use. That's how you sound more natural and think less. 4. Speaking is a physical skill. You have to move your mouth. You have to say the words out loud. Shadowing, repeating, talking to yourself. It all helps. 5. Confidence comes from doing, not from studying, not from watching YouTube, but from trying, over and over. And most of all, 6. You're allowed to make mistakes. Mistakes are not a problem. They're proof that you're doing the work. Every mistake is a step forward. If you take only one thing from this episode, let it be this. You don't learn to speak English by waiting until you're ready. You learn to speak English by speaking before you feel ready. So go talk to yourself in the mirror. Start a voice message with a friend. Record a short video just for you. Say something in English today. Even if it's weird, even if it's awkward, especially if it is. Because every word you say brings you closer to fluency. And hey, I'm proud of you. Seriously. You've already done something amazing just by my daily routine. My day starts early. I wake up before the sun. I hear my alarm. It is soft. I try not to wake the house. The first minutes are mine. I use them well. I turn on the kettle. I stretch a little. It wakes up my body. I pour hot tea. This is my little ritual. It helps me start the day. The tea cools. I close my eyes. I take deep breaths. I tell myself, today is a new day. It is full of possibilities. I deserve to live it with care. Not just for others, but for myself too. Then I do morning chores. I make breakfast for the family. I get the kids ready for school. I check their bags. I make sure they have their books and clothes. I help my husband get ready for work. I pack his lunch. He doesn't like fast food. These tasks take time, but I find moments for myself. For example, I cook breakfast. I play my favorite music, or I listen to a podcast. It inspires me. This helps me feel good. I am not just doing chores. I am creating a cozy home. I am also filling myself with positive emotions. The house gets quiet. It is time for more chores. Cleaning, laundry, cooking. It feels endless, but I find my rhythm. I break tasks into small parts. After each part, I take a break. I drink tea. I read a few pages of a book. Or I sit in silence. These are my little rewards. I also do physical activity. I don't have time for a full workout, but I do short exercises. Or I dance to music while cleaning. This keeps my body in shape. It also lifts my mood. Lunch is important. I cook for the family, but I also cook for myself. I choose dishes I like. I enjoy making them. Sometimes I try new recipes. It adds variety. During lunch, I forget about chores. I enjoy the meal, even if it's just for a few minutes. This reminds me, self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity. After lunch, I do my hobbies. I read, I draw, or I walk in the park. I don't feel guilty. I know a happy mom gives love and care to her family. Sometimes I meet friends. We talk and share thoughts. This helps me feel connected. It is more than just chores. In the evening, the family is home. I create a cozy atmosphere. We have dinner together. We talk about our day. We share our thoughts. The kids talk about their day. My husband tells a funny story from work. I laugh with them. After dinner, I wash the dishes again. The kids take a bath. My husband helps them brush their teeth. I read them a bedtime story. They go to sleep. Finally, I sit on the couch with my husband. We watch TV for a while. I feel tired but happy. Today was hard, but I did it. I took care of my family. I also found time for myself. After dinner, I take time for myself. I take a bath with nice oils. Or I use a face mask. Or I read a book quietly. I remind myself self-care is not selfish. It helps me be the best for my family. Before bed, I think about the day. I thank myself for what I did. If something didn't go well, it's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. I can try again. I fall asleep with this thought. Taking care of myself is important. It is the base of my happiness. Every day I find new ways to remind myself. A happy mom makes a happy family. Sometimes I feel very tired. I try hard, but the chores feel endless. In these moments, I stop and ask myself, what can I do to feel better? Maybe I call a friend. My friend always supports me. Or I go for a walk alone. I breathe fresh air. It clears my mind. I know self-care is not one time. It is a process. I need to pay attention. I need to be mindful. I will keep looking for balance. I care for my family. I also care for myself. This is important for me and for those I love. I continue my journey. I remind myself it is okay to ask for help. I cannot do everything alone. Sometimes I ask my husband to cook dinner. Sometimes I ask my kids to help clean. Sharing the work helps me. It teaches my family about teamwork and responsibility. This small change makes a big difference. I feel better at the end of the day. I also learned good enough is okay. Not every meal has to be perfect. Not every room has to be very clean. Not every day has to be perfect. Some days I do only the important things. The rest can wait for tomorrow. Trying to be perfect makes me tired. I don't want that. I focus on what matters. I want a loving home. Everyone should feel valued and cared for, including me. I listen to my body and mind. When I feel tired or overwhelmed, I know I need to rest. Sometimes I take a nap when the kids are at school. Sometimes I say no to extra work. Sometimes I sit with a cup of tea and do nothing. These moments are not lazy. They are necessary. They help me get stronger. Then I can return to my tasks with a clear mind and a full heart. I also learned to set boundaries. It is easy to say yes to everything, but saying yes too much makes me tired and unhappy. Now I think carefully. I say yes only to what I can do. I say no to the rest. It is not easy, but it is important for my well-being. People respect me more for it. They understand I care for my health and happiness. This sets a good example for everyone around me. Another thing helps me. I find joy in small things. For example, I enjoy the smell of coffee in the morning. I love the sound of my kids laughing. I like the feeling of sunlight on my face during a walk. I try to enjoy these moments. They remind me life is not only about big things. It is also about small, everyday moments. These moments make life meaningful. When I focus on them, I feel calm and grateful, even on busy days. I also started to dream again. For a long time, I stopped my dreams. I thought being a mom means I cannot have my own goals, but now I understand. Doing what I love makes me a better mom. I love writing, painting, or learning new things. This gives me a purpose. It shows my kids it is never too late to follow your dreams. It is a process. Every small step makes me proud. Some days are hard. Everything feels chaotic. On those days, I tell myself it is okay to not be perfect. I let myself feel my emotions. I can feel frustrated, sad, or tired. It is okay. I do not judge myself. I learned accepting my emotions helps me. It helps me move forward. When I need help, I talk to my partner, friends, or a therapist. Asking for help is not weak. It is strong and smart. I continue to learn about motherhood and self-care. Some days are good, some days are bad. It is okay. What matters is I try. I try to be present. I try to take care of myself. I try to create a balanced life. It is not easy, but it is worth it. When I take care of myself, I help my family too. I help my future. I help build the life I want. I keep going step by step. I remind myself, I am enough. I do my best. I deserve love and care like I give to others. This is a journey. I am still learning, but I promise to make myself a priority, not just today, but every day. Myself, I do not just survive. I thrive, want. Now I understand. Self-care is not only big things. It is also small choices every day. For example, I drink water before coffee. I stretch for 5 minutes after sitting. I take a deep breath when I feel stressed. These small acts seem small, but they add up. They remind me I matter. My well-being is important. I am worth the effort. I also started rituals. Every night I write 3 things I am grateful for. Some days it is big things like a promotion or a family moment. Other days the smell of bread. Focus on good things. It makes me feel peaceful. Another ritual is setting intentions. Every morning after tea and how do I want to feel today? What do I want to do? It is not a strict plan. It is about the tone of the day. For example, I want to be patient with my kids. Or I want to find joy in small moments. Or 2. This helps me feel focused and purposeful. I also started journaling. I write my thoughts, fears, and dreams. No one judges me. For example, laundry never ends. Or balancing work and family is hard. About my hopes. Or I write about things. This helps me understand my emotions. It helps me know and need. I also found creativity helps me. I paint, knit, or move furniture. These activities help myself. Creativity reminds me I am not just a mom, wife, or homemaker. I have talents and passions. When I express my passions, I feel alive. I feel connected to who I really am. Of course, this is not easy. Some days I feel overwhelmed. I have too many tasks. I feel like I'm drowning. Sometimes I ask, am I doing enough? Am I enough? On those days, I remind myself, I am human. I treat myself like a friend. I tell myself doing my best. That is. I also learned I do everything alone. Asking for help is not weak. It is strong. Sometimes I hire a babysitter. Sometimes I ask my partner to help with bedtime. Sometimes I talk to a friend. Leaning on others is important for my well-being. I do not have to carry everything alone. It is okay to share the load. Self-care is not a destination. It is a lifelong practice. It is about choices, big choices and small choices. These choices honor my needs. They nourish my soul. I find balance in chaos. I find joy in small things. I find peace in busy days. There will always be challenges, but I love. So I keep going. I keep learning. I keep growing. I remind myself of care and happiness. I want a life that feels real and fulfilling. Not just for my family, but for me. Taking care of myself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is the best gift I can give and to others. In conclusion, important. It is necessary. A mother who balances family care and self-care becomes stronger and happier. She understands her needs. She can give more love to her family. I continue my journey. I think about the future. I want to leave a legacy for not just as a mom. I want them to remember me as a woman who lived a balanced life. For others is important too. I want them to know it's okay to dream. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize. I learned an important lesson. Self-care is not the same forever. It grow. It changes as my life a year ago might not work. It's okay. I've become more flexible. I forgive myself more easily. I adapt my routines and rituals. They fit the season of life I'm in. Some days, self-care means a long walk in nature. Other days, it's quietly. Both are valid. Both are necessary. I also involve my care journey. I realized something important. Teaching my children and husband about self-care is valuable. It helps them understand. It's encouraged my kids to take breaks. I ask my husband to join me for a walk or a cup of tea. These small moments bring us closer. They also teach them that self-care is not selfish. I've started to see we remind each other to enjoy life. Place. It also makes our things have been kind of hectic. Those are real expressions, and if you write them down and say them out loud a few times, they start to feel natural. They move from your passive memory, the part of your brain that understands, to your active memory, the part that speaks.